Okay, so I was talking or thinking about the entertainment industry. I was watching a post, some guy complaining about Keanu Reeves being named the internet's boyfriend a few years ago, and like his popularity right now because of his recent films and how everybody loves Keanu Reeves and all this new like Keanu Reeves build up. And it's not really new, but he was claiming that in the 90s, or when he was first becoming popular, everybody hated the guy. And I remember what he was talking about. He was saying, like, everybody hates the guy. Everybody was making fun of the guy. He was an entertainment joke. But he kept getting in these big films. When he was in The Matrix, there's actually um, things people talking about how he was going to ruin the movie, and they thought that it was going to be his next biggest flop. I just want to talk about that because Keanu Reeves is not the greatest actor in the world. Everybody knows that, but he's great at what he does, which is like action films. So I think it's safe to say Arnold Schwarzenegger, Van Damme, Jackie Chan, they're not the greatest actors ever, but they're great at what they do. So Keanu Reeves set out to be an action flick guy, and I think that is perfect for what he does, for what he's got, right? So does everybody else. But in the 90s, for sure, they used to poke fun at him a lot. And it's just media buzz. So what I like to do is talk to dancers mainly, why I'm in the dance industry first, although I've been in web series and have done some modeling and have been trying to be in TV and film. My knowledge is greater than my experience. So let's talk about it. Media buzz is the subject today. And so the thing about Keanu Reeves is that he's a good guy, right? He's never done anything seriously wrong. He's had a lot of traumatic events and tragedies in his life that in turn has made him a better person. So he's done a lot of great things for people. He helps out whenever he can. He's really sort of down to earth, is how people know of him outside of the entertainment industry. And a very giving, nice kind of guy. But you can't be that without also being a warrior, and having to be a good warrior means that you've also had to deal with some very tragic events in your life. So all of that is the definite description of Keanu Reeves. And in the media, back in the 90s, there was this thing called tabloids, all the magazines. TMZ did not exist yet. If it did, it was like it was a tabloid magazine. I think TMZ was more of a 2000s thing. I can't really be sure of that, but that's what I think, that tabloids had become so popular that they made it a TV show. But it was definitely talked about on the radio and everything. So yes, there was a lot of sort of hate around Keanu Reeves, but in reality, from what I remember, is that girls and women of all ages were obsessed with Keanu Reeves. He was so good looking on camera. He looked almost perfect. His face was perfectly like aligned. He has great proportion, and skin was perfect. The body was perfect, great posture. There was no problems with this guy. There was nothing awkward. He's a surfer, beach guy, and really easy to look at. He had good hair, and at the time his hairline was not receding. So it was like he was very popular with females and gay men and whatever. But I think so. Then what happens is all the jealousy of men, either in the industry or out of the industry. And the best way to get those guys' attention to this new star is to hate on him. And so at the time, there was this saying, any publicity is good publicity, or even bad publicity is good publicity. So they played that in order to get the men that were jealous of him in on the deal and watching him, just so they could leave the theater and poke fun at him. But they were spending the money, taking their girlfriends to watch it, buying the videos, etc. So that's what was happening at the time. And this guy was talking about it like it was a real thing. And I just want to say that was what we call media buzz. It's not a real thing. And it's happened to many, many, many actors. But so there's this other kind of actor called, which we call characters. They're not just character actors, but they're characters. Like, you know, people go, oh, she's such a character. Oh, he's such a character. That just sort of interesting people, right? And a few names to mention from the 90s that fit that bill really perfectly are like Pauly Shore and Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix in the 2000s was known to do some crazy, crazy things. He had crazy behaviors. Nothing he did or said made any sense. Nobody knew what was going on. He was supposedly starting a band, trying to be a musician, and musicians get favored and recognized for crazy behaviors more so than actors, and he was an actor. So I think he tried that transition and it didn't really work out. But Pauly Shore was just a funny guy, just kind of quirky, right? And he had some movies based on his sort of quirky or this weird personality. He fell off the grid because he was not the greatest actor, and there's only so many things you could do with him. So, but now that the 90s are back, he's gaining some more popularity. And Joaquin Phoenix was playing the media. I mean, as long as you don't do anything too terrible, like go to prison for child, SA for kids or adults or whatever, or something you could go to prison for, like Diddy did, right? So Joaquin Phoenix, I think, is pretty clean, and he's had some tragic events in his life with his brother and other things as well. So it feeds into his acting capabilities. But by choice, I think he was choosing the movies that he wanted to be in, and then because of his strange behavior, people didn't want to work with him, so he was not being given a lot of the greatest opportunities until after he'd done a certain amount of movies that really showed his skill. So that then after the Joker, he just exploded, right? But he's been doing this since he was a child. So there are a few child actors that are at that level of fame and success, and other child stars that we remember them and we know their names, but they're not as successful in their later years. So for the females side, Madonna, the difference between like Joaquin's media coverage and Madonna is that, Madonna's not the greatest actress in the world either. But her behavior has always been the same. She's never changed. She's always been that girl that does strange things, dresses different, acts different. I think she tried a little bit of a different accent and got in some movies in the 80s where they were praising her a lot for that, but then also hating her a lot for that. So she had a little bit of it in the 80s and early 90s. But when they realized, oh, that's just the way she is, she's not actually working the media at all. I don't know that she knows how to do that necessarily. I think she's just doing whatever she wants, and people are very attracted to that. So Madonna, though she's very famous and successful, I don't think the media buzz around her, to hate her was on purpose to push her career. Whereas for actors, the media may even be paid to do it, to create more buzz around a film or an actor for promotion. I don't think that was happening with Madonna. I think she was creating that just by being who she is, to be honest. But who knows, right? But I will say one of the females that benefited from this and has seen a lot of it because of a change in behavior. We've been watching her since she was growing up, change her behaviors, do some really strange things, complete 180 of her style and how she reacts to the media would be Drew Barrymore. We've seen her in a lot of different ways. She was definitely a character. We didn't know she was going to be sweet, nice Drew, or like a crazy, wild Drew, or she was going to be like, kid in a candy store Drew. She just had a lot of different aspects to her personality, which I think is why she's a good actress, but why people love her too, because she's been through a lot in her personal life. But we watched her go through it. And so though her career there was a point where people were worried about her, so she didn't have that many opportunities in film, but there's always a way to pick it back up. And you don't necessarily have to change as a person, I think. But I do think that there was some amount of working the media, knowing they won't care if I do this. As long as I don't land myself in prison, I'll still have a career. But I think there's a point where there will be a few years where they're out of work and they get kind of worried about it. So I think what happens there is that an actor or an actress will associate with a lot of funny people that will understand where their bad behaviors come from and be able to work with them, and by association, like they then start getting roles in different films that are successful, though they may not be the lead, like when she got Charlie's Angel, or when she started working with Adam Sandler. So anyway, she's one of those that has been seen in a lot of different ways, and the media used it and went back and forth with her to help her career, to push and promote her, not necessarily for a movie, but just to promote her. So, they will work with you, but you have to know what you're doing, and they have to be interested. They have to know that people will be interested in that. So the thing is, Keanu Reeves, what I'm saying here is that he was not actually hit on. That was all promotional media buzz. And you don't see as much of that in the way it used to be done anymore, because those guys like the Joaquin, Drew Barrymore, Pauly Shore types, are the reason everybody is weird now. The strangeness, the crazy fashions, even Madonna, because everybody wants to reinvent, so they copy. But some of the greatest in controversy are like Prince, Michael, Little Richard. As you see there, their behaviors are all over the place. So it'll be this crazy guy one day, really quiet the next day, in a suit or half naked, and you never know what you're going to get. And that's playing with the media. So the media will want to work with you and promote your projects more. And it doesn't necessarily matter if they're saying good or bad things, unless it could completely destroy your career, like what happened with Michael Jackson. When there's an issue with children, people react differently. And Michael knows this. He was like, oh, this is bad. They're trying to take me down. Because normally they'll say, oh, I'm trying to go to Mars and be in some sort of a coffin where they're saving or preserving my body. Is very different from this person is now accused of doing something terrible to children. Very different. So where his strange behaviors was one thing at one point in time, they then had information. Once that kind of thing gets out, it could. But in Michael's case, he was too big of a star to really take down. He wasn't going to let it happen. You can sort of salvage if you do have that kind of a following or that amount of work. And anyway, let's see. The reason why, what I also was thinking about is that the reason why I still a dancer and I haven't pushed forward into acting or anything like that, or producing bigger projects right now, is one, I don't have the time, but mainly that recently I had an event, you see Ba.Bl events, and there were different types of dancers. We had the street dancers with different styles. We had salsa, bachata, and then the audience was mainly like a cumbia style, cumbia like salsa, I guess, like Luis Miguel fans. And so it's all very new to them. It's very interesting to them. But the dancers came to me a little bit concerned because I was like, we're going to start making the videos, different creative videos. Let's think about ideas here. What are we going to do? What if we do this? What if we do that? And everything that I mentioned, the feedback that I was getting, well, it doesn't really go together. Like, this stuff doesn't go together. I think that's like the problem where with this thing. And I was like, yeah, what doesn't go together? So here's the thing, as a dancer, I'm someone who's supportive of like WDSF and dancing, being organized to go to the Olympics. And we made it last time, right? Break dancers went to the Olympics. But because of the horrible media coverage, the chances of ballroom dance getting in was seen to be less likely. And I go, well, maybe that will give them the better chance to get in because it's done differently and it has a different following. So I had some different theories about that, but that's not the topic today. WGSF just has many, many different styles. It's not just breakdancing and ballroom or Latin dance. They have the theatrical and the cabaret. They have all the different dance styles. And if you look up the website, you can, see the different dance styles that are trying to get into the Olympics. I have hopefuls for that. Or at least what we can call it now is world championships versus the NDCA or the WDC, which you'll see a lot on YouTube, being seen as world events, like in Blackpool over in London, are mainly just world events in that it's European and anybody from around the world can go. It's one of the bigger competitions, but don't necessarily compete with each other as country to country, whereas the WDSF works more like the Olympics does. So we're supportive of that in my studio and my show, etc. Even though that's not those are not the competitions I danced in. I've always been supportive of it. I always wanted to be part of it, and as unfortunately where I live, there was nothing to do with it. But when I was told at this event that these dance styles don't go together, I realized that they don't know anything about what I do, and I don't have time to explain it to them. But basically my reaction was, well, neither does milk and soda, but we have the root beer float. So let's figure it out. And they didn't do video together. Unfortunately, we couldn't come up with an idea where it would make sense to everybody. So we have the separate videos. No hate, no complaining. I love all of them. It's just that that's kind of the reaction. So in dance, you have less dancers that become hugely successful for the dancing, unless you're on Dancing with Stars, or so you think you can dance. Nobody knows who you are. And you have to have multiple wins for people to even remember your name, right? So on those shows. So dancers have a much harder time being as successful in the entertainment industry on TV and film unless they become actors. And I've always felt that was unfortunate, which I wanted to sort of stay in this industry or stay connected to this industry if I went for, deeper into my other goals. Because I feel like in these podcasts and through my influence, what I'm doing here on my shows is, and the opportunities also that I offer to dancers with my businesses, there's a lot of explaining, and it helps them understand and open their minds to what it is they're doing to limit themselves. So my whole thing is like, don't limit yourself. It's all, if you start your career by saying, those just two things don't go together, so you won't have anything to do with that type of event or those type of dancers, you're putting a block in your road. So I had a dancer that was sort of embarrassed to be part of my thing. And I couldn't do anything about it. It's a big part of it. So I have to promote it. And I was like, well, you agreed to be in this thing. And I won't name names, and I won't even say which thing it was part of. But it's that I was thinking, you can be embarrassed, be embarrassed, but just like the media would, work with it. If you can't try to cancel me or try to prevent people from seeing what you did here, in association with my businesses, you're preventing people from watching more of you, basically, because you want to be this one thing in this one direction in this one path. So though they're much more successful than me, they think they know better. But I think the bottom line is that while we're all trying to be successful, it's not necessarily about just promoting other people and helping other people get there, but it's that every association, everything that you do, whether it's good or bad, is promotional for you and whatever you're doing. So people will watch it, they'll ask questions, it creates buzz. And if you're embarrassed, it only matters what it is you think of it to your audience. But the controversy may then take place somewhere within our dance industry, maybe not so much in the TV media or whatever, but it could come up. Oh, we saw you were associated with this. And if anybody knows anything about dance, they might ask you about, your involvement with some kind of a competition business. In which those questions are really important to be able to answer. If you don't have any answers for it, and all you're doing is canceling another business, it's like what they say when you're trying to get a job, or when you're applying for a new job or a new career. If you talk a lot of crap or you just say bad things about your previous employer, it's less likely that you're going to get hired, even if they don't like that business, because they're going to be afraid that you're going to hide feelings working with them, and that you're going to, it's like hiring a risk. You'll be the risk that they're taking to hire you, whether or not you're going to like being there or want to be a part of it. And then in the end, leaving and trashing them to other businesses. So that's the risk, is that you'll be the person leaving with all the information on the business or their company, and trashing them in the media and with other companies. So nobody will hire somebody like that. It's always important to just talk about the positive things, right? So the media is no different. But once you're in the game and the people you associated with are also in the game, then you have this back and forth, as you've seen in the media, where it was like Ba.Bl versus Selena, or whoever. Some of the bigger name cases, like Johnny Depp's divorce case versus Diddy's cases, are good examples of that. Where, like, although Heard lost her career, there was word that she might be coming back, and then people were like, no, don't do that. So that destroyed her career, but I think that was, needed. She's just crazy. But Johnny was in a box, right? So we have a tendency as the audience to put people in a box. And if you're in a box, that's the only way people want to see you. The controversy comes when you do something, crazy behavior, or somebody makes a complaint or accuses you of something that's outside of that box. And the time spent on figuring out whether or not those things are true is causing controversy. Now, the controversy is the box outside of the box. And in that bigger outer space, I will say, or outer layer, is just, if you think about a box being this big, and then you have the outer layer making it this big, this is how much more attention you're getting. You were this, now you're this. So though Johnny Depp was in a box, he was a pretty big star, right? We liked him there. No controversy. Great acting, great skills. Whoa. Hey, there's a lot more to this guy. So, but this happened to him. He's like in his 60s now, 50s, 60s. And he's bigger than he was when he was doing like scissor hands. So that's what controversy will do for your career. And I think this is a thing that like dancers don't know or they don't pay attention to. So they don't necessarily cause it for themselves outside of their own little competitive world or their studio, right? And what I've noticed as a studio owner is that buzz within a city between you and another studio, although it's not discussed in the media, it may be handled on social media. There was a few dancers, I won't say names, that hated each other. And in social media, they were like lashing out at each other and talking crap about each other. Everybody knows each other here. All the dancers know the different teachers, and they were working around the same studios. So all of the dancers that had taken lessons with them or classes with them or associated with them were watching and paying attention to this little rivalry that was happening in social media. And that's just in the city. It's like nothing, because outside of the dance studios, nobody knew who these people were. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody cares unless you're in it. But when you're working with dancers that have a little bit more fame, that are a little bit more nationwide or worldwide, all of that is possible. Not that I'm creating my own controversy, but I was kind of like thinking, oh, well, like if they're embarrassed to be part of this, that could be actually really good for me if they mention it at all. But if they try to cancel me and put me out or try to, forget, make people forget that they were there, but I'm the only one promoting it, with a much smaller following. That's where cancel culture comes to play. And I feel like cancel culture is dumb. They try doing it to big name stars, but it doesn't work because they're already up here, right? Cancel culture happens down here when you're dealing with somebody. It's like just trying to put a smaller business out of business. And what's the point of that if we're all trying to gain success and fame? It doesn't matter if the worst people are gaining success and fame. You don't want them to do certain things, like you don't want a molester to live next to a school. That doesn't mean you don't think they should be working citizens with jobs. They have to work, they have to pay rent or what. They're going to be homeless. And that's worse for the community, I think. It's a matter of opinion. So all of these things are a matter of opinion, but there are better arguments for what I'm saying than the latter. So basically, I was like, oh, if he was embarrassed, then this could be good for me. He's not mentioning it at all. And I'm not being, told to stop posting about them. But it's like, I think what happens is that you post too many things of too many different dancers, and then they're on the attack because it's like, we don't go together. That's just the feedback I was always, it's not the same. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Why are you doing that? And I think there was a point where people thought that smooth and standard didn't go with Latin and American rhythm, but in ballroom, they take place in the same. And so that I'm sort of expanding on that for what I believe in and what I stand for in dance is kind of complicated because there are dancers that are competitive, like on a TV level in television, but not necessarily competitive in a lower scale in the national competition world anymore, because they're just simply too big, they're too professional at this point, they would be considered judges, even though there may or may not be better, more experienced dancers. So I was just having trouble trying to convince them that dance is dance. But they're not so different. If you look at my two dancers' history and experience, my dancers' history, I call them my dancers, the dancers that I have at my events or part of my shows. A lot of them have backgrounds in similar dance styles or the same dance styles. Just to mention some, like Wesley's a contemporary world champion, a ballroom champion, and has been professionally dancing in all styles from ballet, contemporary, modern, lyrical, hip hop, tap, ballroom, all of everything. He does everything. The number one most experienced top dancer I've ever known in my entire life. But there I had another dancer that I hired who is proficient in like street style dancing, pop locking, salsa, hip hop, bachata, the whole nine, but not necessarily a ballroom dancer. And then I had the street dancers, of course, that's mainly their thing, but they've had involvement in other styles of dance like ballet and such and such. So everybody's background in dance is different, but there are fewer dancers that have done all the styles and had success in all the styles. So it's, if you meet somebody like that, or to be able to meet somebody like that is extraordinary. You're very fortunate, I think, in my personal opinion. And what's unfortunate is that when they think about associating with each other or doing an event together or a video together or working together, they think that it's an impossibility and that there's no connection. That's the unfortunate thing. So we want to get over that hump here at the Ba.Bl and Capital Ball events and XML Productions. We're trying to bring dance not only together, but then also try to involve it in the rest of the world of entertainment so that these people can see more success, because dancers are sort of at the bottom of the barrel in entertainment when we're talking about bigger projects that pay much, much more money. And that's why most dancers then you'll see are like dental assistants and medical technicians and pharmacists or working at the grocery store or whatever, because dancing is seen as something that you do on the side. If you can make money, great, but professional dancing doesn't pay a lot. It's really kind of scattered. The jobs are here and there. You're lucky if you become like a great choreographer that people are begging to work with. And the best way to make money as a professional dancer is to teach. So as a performer, if you really love performing, people are turning to TikToks where they can actually choreograph and dance in improv all day, every day, and get professional jobs and paid to do promotional work and other shows with other people. And so TikTok's been great for dancing. But I feel like in the world of show, theater, TV, film, competition, the stage work is limited. And then with AI and the internet taking over, it's limiting it even more. So though there are dancers that make a lot of money on TikTok or can make that their personal brand and business, we're sort of losing something special about the art, which is that live stage work and those personal interactions with working with other other fantastic entertainers. In that whole sort of show world has changed a lot in a way that is actually eliminating some of those connections, which is, I think, why we're having such a problem with seeing how everything can work together. And when thinking about the world in general, what we're going through as Mexicans in this country alone, anytime I see something that's limiting how people can connect and come together is sad. It makes me sad. I feel like it's not helpful for anything else that we're trying to achieve as people of color in any industry around the world. So it all connects. But to that, especially, if we can't make it work here, how are we going to make it work here? You know, but that's the TikTok today. That's the topic of the day. Nobody's watching on here right now. I'm not getting any chats. It is almost 10 o'clock. I don't know why anybody watched this over a Christmas movie. I'm just sitting in my kitchen in the dark. I can't believe I didn't turn any lights on. But, real talk. This is what I was thinking about right now. I don't do my podcast as much as I should. There's a lot of topics that I go over, that I, write down for classes that I'm going to have for the weekend, that I don't get to, things I want to discuss with my performance team or with my students, but they end up just becoming a short conversation between me and my mom, or something that I'm just thinking about in bed and it goes away, or I never get the chance to really express it to you guys. And all of these projects take a lot of work, so I'm looking into getting more help with them. It got to a point where I was doing so much, I came to a standstill. I was like, I cannot work on everything every day. I'm going to die from this. I'm not sleeping. I'm not, eating right. And although I do this show about my diet and it's healthy food, I end up eating too much. So, and it's just to keep my energy levels up because I'm not dancing as much as I would like to. But I've been, after this last event, which I'm posting more and more videos about because we have a lot of content, I decided to take a break and try and figure out how we're going to move forward here on this channel. I thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this podcast, I don't know if I can get it up, if I can post it, or if it dies once I hit end. But if you like these kinds of topics, you want to hear more, you want it to be like a real podcast where we get like the microphone and the guests and everything, comment on here. Tell me what you think. Give me your suggestions. Talk about the topic, what you think about this particular video and what it is we're talking about today. Thank you again for clicking. I hope you did watch until the end and you didn't just scroll. Have a good day and Merry Christmas.